Hello everyone, welcome back. My name is Dr. Vijay Bhatia. Today I'm going to talk about everything is in the mind, or mind is everything. What is the mind? The mind is the set of cognitive faculties, including consciousness, imagination, perception, thinking, judgment, language, and memory, which is housed in the brain. Mind is overall function of the brain. In the mind, one of the faculties is the memory. All learnings are stored in the memory. Memory stores can be accessed at will, whenever you want, from the reminders, even thinking about them, some triggers, some photos, or visiting those places or meeting those people. Those memories can be triggered. Memories attached with fear will trigger freeze, fight, or flight reactions. Remember, you might have experienced something fearful as a child, and later on in life, you keep on just thinking about those memories, and they will trigger those feelings. And this time you might freeze, you may want to fight, or you may want to just run away from it or avoid completely. Memories with good things will help relax, make you feel comfortable, and make you feel happy. Positive memories are rewarding. Memories can be strengthened by repeating those memories, talking about them, reminding them again and again. Bad memories are difficult to eliminate as subconsciously you keep on thinking about them, and they have made connections through repeated rehearsal. What is the brain? Now we know that brain has a structure and a function, and certain brain areas are highly specialized, like emotional brain, reward centers, sleep centers, appetite centers. Structure is basically designed at birth, basically from your genes and DNA, but new connections can always be made. Most structures are present at the birth, and we keep on making these connections. And most brain structures are formed within the first 3 months of your life. And later on, we keep on making new connections because we keep on learning. A lot of brain connections are made in early childhood, and by the time you are adolescent, we don't need a lot of those connections. The brain has the capacity to remove those connections, and that's where in adolescence some of the confusion develops. Brain cells communicate with each other through chemical messengers. They are called neurotransmitters, sometimes with hormones. And certain brain areas have certain specified functions, as we already discussed as above. Now, structure of the brain has to be maintained with the proper food, proper oxygen, water, and energy is supplied through the breakdown of the food, especially the glucose, and the DNA will continue to produce the chemicals that is required, and even the machinery that is required to make those chemicals and molecules. Machinery is maintained by the DNA again, and all the chemical reactions happening in the body, making the new receptors or the gates that control what can go inside and outside, and the raw material we already talked about. Now, function of the brain is to learn everything, right? Through the hearing, through the everything, and also to protect both internal and external, to preserve, to propagate. The brain would know when to actually stimulate the organs, ovum development in the ovaries, or sperm development in the testes, and also to communicate with other cells. The brain cells need to go through the neurochemicals, and some um, brain also, whatever we learn, whatever we have seen or perceived, that is fed into the other areas of the brain, like emotional brain. This is just a brief description of the function of the brain. What happens? There is a stimuli, wherever that is, inside or outside. And the sense organ perceives that. If it is outside, it's mainly the eyes, ears, nose. But if it is inside, they are normally receptors on the cell membrane, which gets the information, like adrenaline inside the body can stimulate certain actions. And perception is giving the meaning to those things, what to do, even inside the cell. If it receives a message from the receptor that will stimulate the DNA to switch on or off, and the brain's function is to analyze things, and that gives the meaning to the information that is coming from outside. And depending, are they safe or not safe, the brain or the mind will make a judgment, and that will ultimately lead you to have an action, and controls the behavior or advises what to do in those circumstances. Now, learning starts right from the conception, and throughout the life we keep on learning. That means the connections are being made, they are being strengthened, they are being lost, they are being dampened down, and most of the learning remains there in the memories, which we know that we can get them back through the rehearsal, or any triggers or any other stimuli will stimulate them back. In order to perform its function, mind has to be clear. That means attention, concentration. Remember all the other faculties of the brain where attention, concentration, focusing, and memory functions are perfectly fine. They will not be fine if the brain is getting illicit drugs, or is affected by infections causing delirium, or alcohol is being given too much, that is actually causing the imbalance of the chemicals in the brain, that will cause the confusion. Any other imbalances, even things like sodium, potassium, chloride, sugar, if they're too much, they will be affecting your brain. Learning from inside the body, there are so many chemical reactions happening. The pH has to be maintained, all the salt contents have to be kept in balance, the temperature has to be balanced, the viscosity, the fluidity within the cytoplasm, within the blood, within the cerebrospinal fluid has to be maintained. Skin tone, and even all the organs, they have to be healthy. And there is a homeostasis. That means whatever is there has to be maintained at certain levels within certain limits. And if the body gets attacked by viruses, bacteria, protozoa, parasites, they can disrupt those things, and the body will have, the brain will stimulate, and the body will stimulate some of those immune cells to fight these and ultimately protect the body. And that again is function by the brain and the mind. And information to certain cells in the body counteract those attacks, and monitor the balance of all the chemicals. There are receptors actually in the brain which will actually monitor, are you having enough sleep, are you need to eat more, appetite centers, and things that will make you happy or sad, reward or not reward, are all based inside the brain and is the function of the brain. Therefore, it is the mind. Learning from outside, we learn from outside, as we explained, and learning through experiences, meeting people, going to the places, going to the environment, and we develop some kind of adaptability and understand the dangers and what are the helpful things. Examples of learning, Like if somebody is bitten by a dog as a child, they had a painful experience and felt it was dangerous, they feel quite uncomfortable, and what will be their reaction? They will in the future try to avoid the dogs. Similarly, there are other examples, but these are just examples. There will be hundreds of these learnings over a period of time. False learning can happen. You know what this is? You might have seen. You remember what is this? But you may not remember this, or you may get confused with this, because this can be a duck, or this can be a rabbit. This is called illusion, and this kind of confusion can happen in a number of mental disorders, or sometimes just mind cannot make the things what is outside, and therefore may learn certain things that may not be true. Learning fear examples, we already discussed this before. If as a child you know that spider is dangerous, in the future you will avoid them, and you will develop the freeze, flight or fight ideas in you. There are other examples in this, but that is the basis of it, that we learn something, it's dangerous, the idea is to avoid them or run away from it, or sometimes there are situations we may have to fight for those things. And false learnings can cause mental disorder, and the false learning we talked about was the illusions, but the main learning from the hallucinations, which the person with mental disorder cannot actually differentiate from what is right and what is wrong, and therefore they learn something which is completely not true, and therefore they put themselves in situations where the mental disorder comes into the picture. So mental disorders, we talked about that they can result from false perceptions, as we talked about the illusions, hallucinations, or even false learnings, people talking about things that are not true, or even sometimes there are true, real things, but they are so negative and they are so intense in inducing the experiences, emotional, heightened responses, and we develop false ideas, false beliefs, and therefore we behave differently from other people who have different perceptions or different beliefs. Thanks for watching this video. Please press the like button below. Please subscribe the channel to watch more videos on the mental health.